Mic check and screen share check, please. All right. Good evening, guys. This is the nightly strategy podcast for September 19th, 2022. This was our sketch from earlier tonight during the Creativity 202 debrief on relinquishing ego. This is artist's rendition of my inner guide that's been my companion for 50 years, helping me try to find the path. We're on lesson 13 of 30, so we're about a third of the way, little over a third of the way through, 40% of the way through, I guess, and really enjoying the effort. All right, we'll start with the market 150 today. Didn't get much traction either way today at a slightly, I think it was slightly positive. But we're still stuck down here below the critical state of the belly of the RL10. And so this was failure to recover, but also failure to follow, a failure to fail further. So neither one of those happened. So what that does is increase the intensity inside this little pressure cooker. So the bulls and bears battled it out today. Slight victory to the bulls, tactical victory, but this is a pressure cooker waiting to explode in either direction. So that's what we got today. Some tactical opportunities, but no directionality. When we zoom in and look at the 30-day, you can see what I mean. That here was Friday's close. There was a gap down to Friday's low, and then grinding move, and then closed really strongly at the end of the day. So that's actually a net plus on a tactical piece. There's still room to go. It has to get through the dragon. Has to break the PSAR. Really, it has to get through the belly of what was once support is now resistance. So it has to get through 388 tomorrow and then up to 400. So there's still some heavy lifting that has to be done, about $12, which is about a 3%. A 3% load that it has to get through before we can begin to call this an upward move. Failure tomorrow through this low of the day would be instant short. That's the path of least resistance. That's the path of maximum pain for everybody that bought today. So we'll be mindful of that. The 30-day, or the 30-minute chart, I should say. This is now we're looking at, this is the 5-minute, or the 5-day look back, I should say. And then here's to the 10-day. And you can see we're still stuck in this long downward move. But today we did get the PSAR flip on the 30, and it closed well. So that was almost, not almost, that's a Kata 2 move on the 30s, where you have a low and a higher low, and it broke out and then closed well. Is that a bear trap, or was that the beginning of an upward move? We shall see tomorrow. But it managed to close this, bridge this gap to last Thursday's low. And I would say we got to get through about 393, then 395, 397 before we get up here to this magic 400. Now, if it gets through that, it has to contend with that gap down. So we got a lot of heavy lifting to do to get out of this hole. And that's why I would say breakdowns are easier to believe in and would be, the long side giving up the ghost. But that's a value proposition right there, and that can work. but we are clearly in the middle now of a critical state. I don't mistake that last 30 minutes for anything other than what it was. This was most of that price stayed in this tight range, didn't fail for sure, and it was only the last 30 minutes of acceleration. So we'll see if that has any lasting power for tomorrow. Let's take a look at the sectors to see what we may see for winners and losers on the day. A tight range among the winners today. Here's the S&P at plus 0.78. The Russell was the best at 0.85. Diamonds were close at 0.68. The Qs at 0.6. Emerging markets at 0.3. Treasuries at 0.2. So from best to worst, only a 0.6% of a spread. So pretty tight range compression all the way through. Tesla had a strong day, just as powering on at 1.89%. All right, let's take a look at the laggards, because we're concerned that might be problematic for tomorrow. Who lagged today? So if we start seeing them suffer tomorrow, we'll know. So again, we'll start with the baseline of the S&P at 0.78. You got finance, 0.6. Uranium, commercial real estate, tech, Aussie dollar, blended commodities between 0.6 and 0.32. You've got oil, staples, agriculture at the zero line there. Now here's the actual, the difference between gainers and losers. Now you got real estate, ARC innovation, clean energy, Bitcoin, ARC genomics, oil exploration, energy, biotech, and now we're between flat and minus 1.5%. Marijuana, 3%. Ethereum, 3.1%. The VIX, minus 9%. So that's a hint towards the upside for tomorrow. We'll see if that has any predictive power. Individual companies, Rivian and Coinbase, minus 3 and minus 5. Squarespace and Devon Energy, 1.3 and 1.8. Microsoft off 0.09. Robinhood and Cliff, micro gains. Texas Instruments, 0.6. Intel, 0.68. So there's our semis, still underneath the S&P. Slightly better than tech, but not by much. Wide range of things to look for more weakness tomorrow. The energy complex, especially. Now to the upside, where were the strengths today? So if we can look for those to see if there's any early movement in these. This would be an indication that there may be some upside in these key leaders. All right. So again, our baseline in the S&P at 0.78. So precious metals, materials, consumer discretionary, the FANGs, Mexico. So now you're talking about 1% to 1.2 to 1.4. You got lumber, 1.68. The other lumber, 1.74. That's wood and cut. Lithium, 2.16. Brazil, really nice move today, 4.25. Now here's our metals, individual companies. So we got Alcoa, 5%. You have U.S. Steel, 1.74. Where was my other? Alcoa. Oh yeah, Alcoa, U.S. Steel. Where's my Cliff? Yeah, Cliff suffered. So the two large cap metals, U.S. Steel and Alcoa, were strong, whereas Cliff did not. So that means there's some differentiation now, even among the metals. And I would look for much more follow through from Alcoa and U.S. Steel for that reason. That's people buying the company and not necessarily the sector. When they're that much better than materials, that's people pushing the buy signal on the company itself. So I'd be looking for the companies to have more follow through tomorrow. Okay. Let's take a look at at some sniper trades today. So this is Brazil. This was so nice. So I looked at here was the close on Friday, and here was the open. So that's your gap down, and here's a 1, 2, 3. I looked at that. I was not impressed by the lower lows, so I just noted that and said, let me see it get above the PSAR flip before I bite. We got that move, and then an immediate 1-hour loss. So that waiting for confirmation, instead of, if I buy here, I'm probably out here also. So the confirmation cost me 1 hour. Check or hold. I would still do it again. The re-entry on a Kata 2, swing low, higher low. It failed to fail. If it was going to fail, it should have done this. It didn't do that. It resumed, so I just buy it at the same level I bought before, same degree of risk. Let's just try it again. Moving out in an organized way. So now I've got 1 unit of risk. So that's about 1, 2. This is right around +3 in hand, and no hesitation in sight. No resistance at all over here. So I'll just buy it. Second position, check or hold. That's like a little R10 wiggle right there. You know, you had a little bit of sideways chop and then a great big burst out. So the RL10 paused and then just continued to go. So that was a feeling of confirmation. So if you hadn't bought it here for a second position, you could add a second position here. Third position, because why not? You know, this was +3. So now this entry is at +5. This one is at +2. So we're 7 in hand at the moment of buying that position. So I'm willing to risk probably, you know, if I put my stop here, then I'm losing 3R on 3 positions. So I really want to hurry up and get this thing to no lose if I can. So if I'm taking this, so just so you realize, a stop right here, meaning if it fails here, then I'm going to lose 1R on 1, 2, 3 positions, which means that I go from +7 to +4. So I can live with that. I'm keeping the majority of it. And there's no resistance anywhere. And EWZ is the best performer in my stack at that moment. So all other things being equal, concentrate and celebrate. By this time, about 2 more bars in, I can get that all out, and now it's genuinely a science project. So that's a pretty good day at work. So this one gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This one gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one gives us 3. So that's 16. Minus 1 is 15. Pretty good day at work. That's what you want. Not interested in shorting that one. Why not? Pick up an extra one, so that's 16 for the day. Check or hold. So this is the other one I was playing today, Alcoa. Alcoa had, there was the close on Friday. Here was the gap down. It bottomed out. It gave me a 1, 2, 3 as it crossed the PSAR, and I just said, why not? Standard risk. PSAR exit. 1, 2, 3. Kata 2 re-entry. Boy, that's a grind. That was a quick exit and then a quick re-entry and another quick exit. That's about half. So that's 1 unit of risk. That's about half an hour, and that's a scratch. Kata 2 re-entry, maybe half. So this is plus 3, and that's a half, and that's a half, and that's 5, plus 16, 21, 2 symbols, 2 series. Most of this was span of control. You know, I'm watching Brazil pretty hard. This was just something to do, to be not nervous. You just go fishing, put your line in the water, and if they bite, you pull them in. You can't make the fish bite, but you can be in position. You can bait the hook and brace yourself, and then wait and react. Be ready. And sometimes you get one. Let's go to the reports. We've already seen the sniper. We'll go to dashboard 1. Bull normal. Some slight healing, but not much. This is still critical state, risk off. All it did today was not fail. There were a couple spots where there was some traction, but that broad market is still very, very vulnerable. Min pains Tesla, Johnson & Johnson, McDonald's, United Health. Max pains Alcoa, Boeing, Intel, Microsoft, and Walgreens. Those are low-risk trades on intraday moves like the 5 that we got out of Alcoa. That's from a 10-day max pain and just some intraday healing. Um, hasn't reversed yet, but it's just making some healing motions. So no overnight risk. No reason to have overnight risk in this market. This you don't see every day. There's a ton of washout patterns. That's the rarest of the swing patterns. So let me just spend some time and explain that one. So the washout pattern is a mechanical swing, and it requires oversold long term, oversold short term. That's measured by Williams percent R, Williams percent R10, and Williams percent R260. So, on that indicator, on percent R260, that sell-off had to go down to where it was below minus 80, so it's oversold. And that's on the 260-day look back, and then also on the 10-day look back. So in some ways that resembles the sniper that looks at the 10, 30, and 150, but this is a legacy washout. So it's oversold on long-term and short-term. But if that was the lowest low of that big red sell-off, today was a setup day, meaning that three things had to happen. That today's low is higher than yesterday's low, so that there was some improvement in there, right? The bears couldn't push it as low as they did yesterday. The second thing, it had to have a green candle or an open candle, meaning that the close was higher than the opening, meaning that they were willing to hold it overnight at a higher level than it opened. So that's the second thing. So the first thing is a higher low. The second thing is that the close is higher than the open. And then the third thing is that the close had to be higher than yesterday's high. So that they were willing to hold it at a price that yesterday they couldn't even get to. So those three things make today a setup day. Now, if you have a setup day, then tomorrow is a buy if and only if, well, first you're going to put a stop below the swing low, and then you're going to wait to see where this thing opens. So it has to open somewhere in this range, and then it has to break out above the setup day's high plus a nickel without making a low lower than the stop. So if you get that dynamic entry here, that's the washout entry, 5 cents above the setup day's high, and you're using the actual swing low of the price as your unit of risk, and you're using the 10-day high as a reasonable target for a swing. So then I'm looking at my reward to risk multiples there. Now, it turns out that we don't have a favorable auto framer on any of those. So although it's the washout pattern for the setup day, there's not a 10-day high in sight that makes that a favorable trade. But the fact that so many of these are bottoming out, that's telling you something about this market. So Alcoa, Caterpillar and Cisco, Disney and DuPont, Microsoft and Nike, and then Walgreens. I'm always interested in Microsoft and Alcoa. So that's just something that I am noticing from the swing patterns. Now, also, there are some interesting anomalies here that Alcoa is also a 5-day down. DuPont is also a 5-day down. That makes Alcoa very, very interesting. And what makes it especially interesting was that it was up 5% for today, in spite of being slammed in those longer time frames. So this was a huge rocket off the bottom in Alcoa. You saw that gave us a 3.5 or 5 hour intraday with no overnight risk. So if you don't think I'm ready to trade that one tomorrow, you would be mistaken. I'm ready to take that little 5 hour intraday, take one of those coins and say, I'm willing to use that to venture into that on an intraday basis if I get anything like an intraday move. So I will be looking for those sniper continuation patterns, like kata twos, mechanical entries, and I'm going to stay with Alcoa all day tomorrow because that 5% gain today is just too compelling not to. Oh, and Brazil. Yeah, I'm going to probably be looking at Brazil tomorrow too because that was so good. They were hitting that one hard. The only other thing that I would say in passing is look how bad Intel is. Good Lord. It's a max pain and it's getting slaughtered. How much more can it get slaughtered? At some point, it's a catfish and we're going to see it bouncing off the bottom. So we'll be looking for that on the Godzilla pattern for sure. The other thing I notice is Verizon getting smashed on the 1 day or on 10 day and the 1 month breakdowns. So that could have been a sell off, one sharp dip, and then maybe that's just gathering momentum for the upside. So I'll be ready for that one in Visa. But really, my target is Alcoa and Brazil for more follow through. Brazil, no other signals, but just the fact that we pulled 16R out of it makes it an object of interest. It was up 5% today. As was the region. Metals and mining were the other big performer. I see breakdowns, however, in industrials, in real estate, and emerging markets. Yeah, my brother points out that Walgreens is flying under the radar. I mean, it's just been getting smashed so much. We've seen that one. We're wondering if it's going to even stay healthy. I mean, just look at that underperformance. Just brutal. We will see that one on the Godzilla, I'm quite sure, in the near future. Lots of auto framers because there's such a great distance back to the 10-day high. There's Cliff. Hey, I'll just take the top four for a nickel, Alex. Cliff, U.S. Steel, Microsoft, and S&P, offering between 6 and 9 to 1. And there's Tech at 4.5 to 1. And Alcoa at 4.4 to 1. Jiminy Crickets. That's some goodness. Even Brazil, with 16R today, is still 3.3 to 1. We'll take that. Cliff at 9 to 1. Yeah, I'll be paying attention to the metals tomorrow. Sometimes you don't have to look very deep in the report. Oh, and Cliff is also squeezed tightly on today's narrow range move, as was Microsoft and U.S. Steel. I'm telling you, if those aren't ready to go tomorrow, I don't know anything. I may not know anything, but we'll see. Boy, if you don't think I'm ready to trade those tomorrow, you'd be wrong. Tesla was pretty squoze today. Um, that's nice. Buck and a half is his R10 intraday. We'll take a look at the Godzillas. FedEx remains of interest. Adobe, 3M, Google, Advanced Micro Devices, Teradyne, Hewlett Packard. So there's some names that we recognize. And then on Cliff in the Godzilla, Squarespace and Treasuries still in a quiet Godzilla, the stealthy Godzilla. All prime time, ready to go. Fireworks. Humana is a firework because it's volatile. These three are popcorns because they are quiet. The fence sitters are mostly quiet, just waiting to see. Therefore, that's going to take me to the volatile. What are the ones that are actually moving? PKG. Big move today. International Paper, big move today. I don't know who they are. WRK. WY. The state of Wyoming. I mean, I got plenty to work on for tomorrow out of this stack. There's your auto framer for the sniper. There's some really good reward to risk ratios in that stack. Wow. Here's the tactical symbol set with the sniper stats. So there you can see Alcoa, Materials, Lumber. I'd even say Cliff. What I like about Cliff is it's 9-1. When you see that really compressed one-day move, that's why you can get a 9-1, because today's move was so tightly compressed. And then Brazil screaming out of quietude with a huge one-day move. That's the beginning of a big move. That's how you know. Johnson & Johnson and Tesla. I want to go look at Brazil. So this was the beginning of potential in here. Got some potential. The slope stat is still pointing the way down. Trouble. So these are tactical responses right now. Tactical one-day bounces. And I'm going to treat them that way until we get out of this. I want to take a look at Brazil real quick. Oops, sorry. Is that Brazil? Yeah, let me put the... Yeah, that's a pretty nice move off that bottom. And this reinforces the point that I make a lot, that failure to fail is information. The fact that it didn't violate but then broke up through the PSAR, broke through yesterday's high, that's your mechanical entry right there. And then it gets through the lower skin of the dragon, the spine, the upper skin, and closes right at the previous peak of the RL10. So now The real question is, does it have the guts to keep moving? If you get another day like it had today, it will break out to a 10-day high and a 30-day high and be off and running. It will have broken through these resistance levels if you get one more day like it did today. But if you don't, then this is just a bear trap and it fails tomorrow. So when I look at this, this looks to me like a beautiful critical state that I'm going to put that tight R10 control box on, and I'm ready to take it this way or right back down the stack in a bearish, because look at, I mean, this all supports the idea that tomorrow could be a fail. If this rolls over tomorrow and then breaks through this low, then this will have been a fake, and it just keeps smashing its way southward. So that wouldn't be unexpected. You can't say that would be surprising. But where it is inside its 150-day look back, let's just take a look. You know, it's fought its way back off this swing low. It's kind of locked in this choppy channel. It held support, but it's got to break above 32 to be interesting at all. So it has to make that move tomorrow. If it doesn't and it just fails this way, that's a reliable short. And then if it breaks through this, look out below all the way back to 25. So you want to talk about a critical state? That's exactly where we are. We're poised for a breakout and recovery to get back to here. That's the potential gain if it can get through this resistance. But then it can get here on one move and then here on a two move. So this thing is powerfully compounding in both directions. That's going to be an amazing trade tomorrow. I mean, just wow. Cliff, dude, that's what 9-to-1 looks like. It's a Godzilla at the bottom of holy mackerel, classic. It's at the bottom of the 150-day look back. Here's our 30-day look back. It's at the bottom of that. And here's our 10-day look back. It's at the bottom of that stack. So maximum downside pain and suffering, which means that rebounds would be amazing, which means that breakdowns would be amazing. So by trade location, this thing is ideal. And now the one-day range compression, here's where the 5-day high is. So there's plenty of tactical room to the upside. It doesn't even get interesting until it gets above 18. So that's a tactical trade. And then this breakdown's a tactical trade. So you can't do better than that. Could it move back up to here? Well, it did from here. In one long steady move, it took 3 downward legs to break the will of everybody that was buying the dips. This sold off to here. They bought the dips. It failed. They bought the dips. It failed. Is it going to buy the dip? I don't know. If you don't want that move, I'll take it. I mean, that's a move from 1750 to 20. That's a 10% move. And the risk box in Cliff is small, and the potential rewards on those little tactical bounces is large. So that's what you got to do in a bear market. You got to harvest them while you can. You know, Walgreens, that's all that thing has done, is gone from 56 to 34. Pain and suffering all the way down. That's his 150-day look back. That's why he's on a dragon, or a Godzilla. There's his 30-day look back. Just pain and suffering. But the thing is, that's not a sign of panic selling. That's a sign of steady selling. That's a sign of panic selling. This is just failure to fail with a tight little risk box. Don't be surprised you get a move to 36. But a breakdown instant short. But that's what the beginning of recovery looks like. You've seen one effort at recovery. It failed. But there is somebody out there that's looking to buy Walmart on sale, or Walgreens on sale, excuse me. But they're not sticking around. They're taking the tactical trade and getting paid. So I wouldn't be offended if you did that. Sniper trading. Pure opportunistic trading. The fact that all the optimists got smashed, it just means that the coyotes among us just come in and opportunistic trading for the next leg up. Like all the guys that are buying it here were the same guys that bought it here and enjoyed that move. They just didn't stick around. Okay, I can do that. All right, let's see what the traders did today. Tim had a tough day, professional, but there wasn't much in his moves for him when he was in the market. This is a good short. Ended up giving back quite a bit. I think you could get short right here when it comes out of the dragon. It's a slight improvement. But then as soon as this reverses against me, I wouldn't wait for it to come here. I would just try to get out sooner. That's a good scratch. There's a Kata 2 right here. This failure to fail, because the PSAR is flipped and it didn't fail. It came back out of the dragon. So I think you can buy that and get that play. That's a good short. I think I would be cutting it here as opposed to enduring all of this. I would just cut it. But would love to be in here. That's not a bad play. If this is going to go, this is the place where it's going to go. When it doesn't go, you got to get out, and then the stop and reverse. Man, we got to get that instead of this. We can't let this short get that far, and then if you're going to get long on that, you got to get long here, because that's a Kata 2, right? Here's the lower part of the dragon and the dragon. Here's the RL10 and the RL10. There's your PSAR flip. And then you're holding this, and then you shouldn't be taking that exit. If you get that far above the VWAP and then it doesn't work, cut it at the VWAP. Because now when it fails below the VWAP, then it's all of this downward pressure. The VWAP is the demarcation line. It's like the equator. If this thing is going to go, it's not going to come back below the VWAP. It's going to go. So when that doesn't go and comes back, you got to at least scratch that. But if you get your PSAR flip, you're going to get paid. So there's some tightening up we got to do inside that. The E-mini. Let's see what we got going on here. Good short. Good exit. Fractional loss. I like the short. I like that one. I think that stop and reverse, I think you got paid there. That's good. Man, yeah, that's where we got to get. Now he was working on the I guess the other trade, but that OR3, man, oh man, do I love that. Span of control issue. I accept that. That makes what was been probably a 2R trade a scratch. He got paid on the gift. That short, when that doesn't even break through the PSAR but starts going up, you can cut that right away and get long right there. And then, off desk. Darn it. That's a tough short with 2 legs up. That's a tough short. I think I'd be waiting for the PSAR and then get short here. I think this was aggressive being short, playing it back to the VWAP, and we let it become a -1R. So I would relax, work on your span of control. The timing, go back to one symbol and really improve the timing on one symbol. Here's Luke in the 5-minute Aussie. PSR flip. Caught it 2. I like the short, good scratch. I like the short, good scratch. I like the long, good loss. Keep firing. Got paid. Now, if I'm down that much, I'm down 1.9. You kept 1.9, and all that did was pay for all this. So this was the opportunity to have made some money. So if you know where you are, and you realize you're at about 2.5 maximum excursion, you might have taken the 1, 2, 3, and then you'd been net positive. That's a good kata 2. That's a good stop and reverse, and that gets paid. That made the difference for the day. So maybe a little bit of psychology and money management inside there, but otherwise a professional day. Here's Woj with 4R in his 2 primes. Perfect. Gets paid. Here was the Kata 2. That's still pretty good. That's an emerging dragon. You were waiting for it to clear that, but you just gave back that much. That's a good capture. So that's +4 on his primaries. The Aussie, he was fractional gains today. A couple quick losses, got paid, and that paid for some of this chop. So his wins were paying for the chop. And when you stop trading was, of course, that's the one. That's going to be the one. This was a support from the higher time frame. So when that fails to fail, that's why this works, and that's why that Kata 2 is good. So use that as evidence that it couldn't even get back to the test, but started to reverse right away. That would be a good time to be in. Last, finishing up with my brother's trade with the Aussie. He's in around lunchtime, his time. There's a Kata 2. There's his 2R battle drill. He decides to get it even earlier on the 1R. Courage. And his everything out is here. So he gets 3 positions on with the grind. And after this little run up and roll over, that's pretty good. That's pretty good work. 5.8. Trusted the 15 pip trail. Standard sniper exit. So nice work, brother. All right, that's everything we got for today. We'll get this published and posted, and we shall see you tomorrow.